Hello, Cheeseheads, and welcome to a special video by the Cheese Room podcast. I'm your host for this, Franco. If you've not seen my face in a long time, this is what I look like. Joining me on this special video, he's basically German anyway. He's not going to like me saying that. All the way from Vienna, it's HG. How you doing, the Harlow Globetrotter?
Ja, guten Abend, alle. Wie geht's euch? Ist es gut heute Abend oder was?
See, I told you.
No, yeah. Hi, Franco. It's good to be on a video pod for the first time for a while, and a chance to talk about the Champions League and Spurs.
Yeah, we were going to do it as part of the preview pod, but basically HG is the only person that knows anything about German football. So we thought we'd just have a little chat, myself and him, and do you a quick video, get you up to speed with Red Bull Leipzig.
They're not called Red Bull Leipzig. They are RB Leipzig, and the RB stands for Rasenballsport, which kind of translates as like grass ball sports. It's a weird thing, but obviously, legally in German football, they can't be named after a sponsor because that's not allowed. So it's RB Leipzig. I don't know where this Red Bull comes from. I have no idea.
Okay, well, I mean, they're relatively unknown to a lot of teams. We do know the kind of history that they are the most hated team in Germany at the moment, having bought their position in the Bundesliga. It's a really dramatic climb to the top they've had, isn't it? In their first season of promotion into the Bundesliga, they came second. They had a taste of Champions League football. With that, they kind of dropped down to sixth the season after. And then last year, they finished second again, didn't they? So they've really kind of cemented themselves as one of the top teams in Germany, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. As much as the German fans might get annoyed about their rise and the fact that they have, let's say, bought their way to the top, what they've done is kind of buy lots of young players from around Europe. They've done things that I think other German teams could have done. Teams like Stuttgart or Werder Bremen or other teams that have won the German title in the last 15, 20 years that could have found their way back to the top and just didn't. So I know that Leipzig have spent quite a lot of money by German standards, but they've also been selling them on. I mean, they sold Naby Keita to Liverpool for almost £60 million. The system that they have is working, and it's continuing to work. As you can see this season, as they're, I think, second in the league right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've had fairly mixed runs in the Champions League. Their first time there, obviously, they didn't get out of the group stage. They had a fairly tricky group, I think, which was Besiktas, Porto and Monaco. But they did finish above Monaco. So they did all right in their first term and then had a short run in the Europa League. This year, they've had a relatively easy group, I'd say, out of all of them, which was Lyon, Benfica and Zenit. And they came out of that as top of the group. So they've actually shown that they've got some I guess, European pedigree now in that they can get through the group stage. And they're not as terrible a team as a lot of people would probably hope we would face at this stage. What do you think, HG? Do you think we've got a good chance against them?
I definitely think we've got a good chance against them. If only on managerial experience, we're probably way ahead of them when it comes to Mourinho and what he's done in the Champions League. But I mean, Nagelsmann is no rookie, really. He got Hoffenheim to the Champions League last season. I think they were in Manchester City's group before being knocked out. And so he's been here before too. He may not have been to the knockout stage. So this is new territory for him. But I mean, he's clearly no mug. He's been a top level manager in Germany for 4 or 5 seasons, started at Hoffenheim. And then I think rather strangely, he moved to Leipzig. I think everyone assumed he was going to go to Bayern. Ended up choosing the Leipzig project. And I think it's probably a good fit for him because, kind of like Poch, they've got lots of young players and he's able to mould them in the way that he wants to. And he's had a really good season with Leipzig so far.
Yeah, I mean, his is quite an incredible story as well, isn't it? 28 years old, becomes the manager of Hoffenheim because the guy he was supposed to be the understudy for left very abruptly. And he's been successful. I think he was really young when he started coaching, wasn't he? He coached lots of youth teams and stuff like that. And is it 3 or 4 seasons he's been at Hoffenheim and now he's been offered a job, managing a Champions League team at the age of 32. Makes me feel so old.
Makes you think that anything is possible. I mean, because this is it. He's been coaching for a decade, just over a decade. It's not a huge amount of time, but when you think that most coaches, let's say they're ex-players, so they may have only started coaching in their mid-30s and getting to the top level mid-40s. He is obviously way ahead. But yeah, it is a case of if you keep up with the trends, then I think you can do things. And once he's got over that, the weirdness of having players who are, a few years older than him, which he must have had at Hoffenheim and probably doesn't have so much at Leipzig, but he did have at Hoffenheim, that, you're the gaffer, right? I mean, that's the term. He's the man in charge. And everyone knows that when you're successful, your word speaks more. And he has been successful for Hoffenheim, getting a team like Hoffenheim, who weirdly enough is kind of similar to Leipzig, where they were bankrolled by one person who happened to play for Hoffenheim in like the 1970s or whatever it was, a computer magnate took them over, and he did really well with them. They don't have pots of money to spend. He got them to a Champions League position. He got them to play, the group stage football last season. They had some great players that were there that moved on to better clubs. Maybe like Kevin Volland went to Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, and at Leipzig, I mean, I have to say this. He's not liked in Germany. I mean, we talk about how great he is. I think the Germans, he's kind of like a Brendan Rodgers character, where he seems to be in love with himself more than anything else. But you can't knock his record. I mean, you might knock his dress sense like you do for most Germans, but you can't knock his record. And he's doing well, but we're still going to beat him.
Well, this is when we realised that we were drawn against them. They went on an incredible run up until kind of January time, from October, where I don't know how many games it was, 8 or 9, maybe 10, where they just kept scoring goals. I think the least they scored in a game was 2, regularly scored 3 or more. And then in the new year, once they had their winter break, they came back with a confident win against Berlin. But then they've struggled a little bit of recent, haven't they? They had a 2-0 loss to Frankfurt, drew with Gladbach, Mönchengladbach. Then they lost to Frankfurt before a draw with Bayern, and then they come back just in time with a 3-0 win at the weekend against Werder Bremen. So, I mean, is there any cause for optimism there? Because they were smashing it before Christmas, and now they seem to be a little bit wavering.
I mean, I have to say, obviously, the results against Gladbach and Bayern, I mean, they're 2 top teams in Germany right now. That was top of the table stuff, and 2 draws probably aren't bad results, especially when the Gladbach game, I think they were 2-0 down and came back to tie. But yeah, it's a strange one, because Frankfurt are not a great team this season. They beat them twice in 10 days, once in the Cup and once in the league. So with Leipzig, a lot of it will depend on almost how they choose to play, because Nagelsmann does tend to tinker a little bit with their formation. He tends to play 3 at the back at home and 4 at the back away. And given the injuries and suspensions that they have in defence, he may well be forced to go for a 4 at the back, just because I'm not sure that he really has a 5th that he could use. So it's going to be interesting. But I think that we all know that Leipzig's strength is going forward. I mean, Timo Werner has scored a bucket load of goals in the Bundesliga this season, almost a goal a game, I think. And yeah, like outside of him, they have some really good players that people probably won't have heard of. Players like Konrad Laimer, he's an Austrian midfielder. There's another Austrian, Marcel Sabitzer, who I personally don't rate as much, but he plays almost every game and he's been captain for them recently. But yeah, they've got a lot of young players that they've bought from the French league, from around the world. There's a young American there, and he's molded them into a unit. Like they do work well together, and it's going to be a difficult game.
Yeah. So what other players do you think will be a danger for them next year? I know you've mentioned a few there.
Obviously Werner is the main guy. He's the one that will. I mean, he's got pace to burn. I mean, he's really, really fast, and he's kind of like Andy Cole a little bit, where you think he needs 4 chances to score, but on his day he'll score 4. I mean, he is good enough to do that. Behind him, it's a little bit. We don't know what really Nagelsmann's going to do. They have a couple of Scandinavian players. Emil Forsberg is from Sweden, and Yusuf Poulsen is from Denmark. And they've both been at the club for a few years. Actually, we're with them in the 2nd division, so they know what's up. They're established internationals. They're good, but maybe one of them, maybe neither of them will start. It's going to be a question of really what he wants to do. They've got a striker on loan from Roma, I think, called Patrick Schick, a young Czech guy. He scored a few goals since he came in January. So it is that they are looking to improve. They're looking to challenge and to keep the squad fresh at all opportunities. But I don't really know what the balance is going to be. When I look at who's fit for them, they seem to have one central midfielder that I would say is really good. They've got problems at the back because of their 3 or 4 centre halves. 2 are injured and 1 is suspended. So they may have to play the Chelsea loanee, Ethan Ampadu, at the back. If they want to go 3 at the back, that's probably who they'll have to play. And he's barely played a minute for them this season. So they do have issues at the back. They are inexperienced at this level. Maybe the first night at Spurs, they might think the pressure's off them a little bit. So that could work to their advantage rather than ours. But yeah, like when it came to a 50-50 chance between Leipzig and Barcelona, that was what the draw was. I think we're all happy that we got Leipzig. Like it won't be easy, but you'd pick Werner over Messi every day of the week.
This is true. And when their young team comes and sees the white wall, I'm sure that will, unsettle them a little bit. Depends if we
Show me
manage.
your shiny placard again.
We'll get our tifos out. Yeah, I know you won't be impressed, HG.
Well, I might be. We'll see what happens. But I'm kind of. I want us to have a tifo. I don't think we will. It's such a major opportunity, not just to make an atmosphere for the evening, but to show the club. I mean, this now we're at this stage of the game. There's only 2 games on Wednesday night, and the other one is the Atalanta Valencia game. So we're probably the main one that most people are going to watch on Wednesday night. So it would be a good chance to advertise the fans, advertise the club, and really make it difficult, because I'm pretty certain that our home game against Ajax last year, the noise levels were akin to like a jumbo jet. It was insane. Yeah. So it's it really is a chance for us to make it a fortress. And our record there is actually quite good. People don't seem to realize that we've got a decent record at the new stadium, but I think there is a lot that can be done to help the atmosphere, let's say.
Yeah, no, I agree.
What is a good result for us? I mean, obviously we want to win, but is 2-1? I mean, do you want to give them away goal? No, I'm not a big fan of the away goals rule, even though it helped us a lot last season. Yeah. So, like, I think Mourinho may well, he might be caught in 2 minds. Like, they are there to be attacked, but we also know that if we attack them, they'll hit us on the break, and that's their strength. So it might be more cagey than maybe we expect, but what's our strength right now? It's scoring.
This is it. The last 2 games, we've been quite happy to sit back, give up possession, and then counter ourselves. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. I think you're right. Probably the most important thing for the home game in the Champions League is not to concede. So it could be quite a tactical affair and probably not a great night for the fans. We'll see, though. Always hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, the thing I half expect to see is that in 3 weeks when they have the second leg, that the pressure is on Leipzig. Let's say they get a 1-1 at Spurs, right? That would be a good result for them. Everyone would think that's a good result, and that they can move on and go on and knock us out in the second leg. But I think that when the pressure's on them, it might be a different story. So whatever happens, like, I mean, unless we lose 4-0, right? Whatever happens, I think that this is just going to go to the second leg, and it will be decided in Leipzig in 3 weeks' time.
Fingers crossed. Right. Well, HG, thanks for joining us and giving us the rundown as ever. And finally, just a quick prediction.
Oh man, prediction. I think we'll win because I want to believe, as the caller would say. I want to hope. I think we'll win, and you know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say 3-1 Spurs. I do think Leipzig will score. But I think that, we have those games where we score a lot of goals, and we from the few chances we create. And let's hope that Wednesday's going to be another one of them. 3-1.
Absolutely. Right, listeners, give us your thoughts in the comments below. And until you listen to us on the pod next, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Auf geht's. Vorwärts. Schießen Tor.